What's up, listeners?
You are listening to CuboldCast.
A podcast focused on co-op and multiplayer gaming experiences. Our hosts are Caleb, myself, Jay,
What's up?
and Chug. So Jay, I actually think that I experienced what you were experiencing the other week.
What's that?
My biceps were so swollen after the gym.
muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the next couple of days, it wasn't as bad as like what you had, but it was it was hard to put my arms up and down.
It was really annoying.
Yeah,
It was hard with my triceps. It was like not my bis, it was my tris.
You know what's weird though? Whenever I go to the gym, like now at least, when I work out, I feel so bulky. All the blood is flowing there, and I feel
like a balloon.
but
I
it's
feel like Abby in Last of Us 2.
yeah, it's more so than than before. So yeah, it's like now we can snap people's necks without any issue and just like become She-Hulk.
Abby's a beast.
She is.
Like, oddly. I remember the first time you see her. I know we're not talking about the second game today, but the first time she's introduced, she just goes ham on those clickers.
Yeah,
And
she's
Her
it's
head
insane.
doesn't fit her body though. Just saying.
She looked better when she was skinny.
Yeah, she's massive. It's really strange.
What? Oh, there's foam falling off the wall here.
Because it's
Our
moist in
studio's
here.
falling apart.
It's so hot. It's like 100 degrees out.
Is it really?
Yeah.
When we left, it was 97.
Oof.
You just walk outside and you're drenched in sweat or like automatically.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's like you're
Immediate
raining on
waterfall.
yourself.
So I have a confession to make.
What's that?
Last night I stayed up till 6:30 editing my videos.
Oh, my.
What?
Videos? Multiple
time is it
videos?
now?
The 2 videos.
Oh, you made both of them?
Yeah.
What time did you go to bed?
6:30.
When did you
What'd
wake
you
Why do you
up?
think I
until-
have this huge coffee here?
Okay, that makes sense.
I actually don't feel too tired. And,
You
then,
will
and then I
later.
walk
You
out
will
and pass
later.
out. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be, and I'm streaming tonight, so it's gonna be.
You're
gonna
gonna
be a
fall
lot.
asleep on the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did 2 Last of Us videos, right?
Yeah.
I've been in Last of Us mode for the last couple weeks.
It's hard to stop thinking about it.
Yeah, it is.
It's weird.
It's
It-
the
it
first
sticks
time for
with
me
you.
playing the first game.
Yeah.
So I can't
Well,
even
you-
explain it.
Well, you
honestly.
played the first game and then you played the second game.
Well, I'm playing the second game now.
Yeah.
But
But I think that more so, there's more conversation going on about The Last of Us 2 than how I felt with The Last of Us 1,
Mm-hmm.
which actually
Because
is.
everyone knows that it's
Yeah.
a good game,
Yeah,
at least story-wise.
Yeah.
exactly. Which actually is the topic of our podcast today. So today we're going to be talking about the first Last of Us game, and probably I'm thinking in a couple weeks we're going to be talking about the second one. Essentially, if you don't know what The Last of Us game is about, it follows the story of Joel and Ellie. They're in a desolate world where apocalyptic, yeah. And what is it? It's like, I guess you can say it's zombies, zombie infested.
Yeah, the game came out
infected.
at the height
Yeah.
of the zombie craze there,
Yeah, it did.
2013.
But the thing
But
is
it's
that
on a real take. It's like a real take of a
It's
zombie
different.
apocalypse.
it's different, which made it stand out.
Mhm.
Which, you know what's interesting though is that I was reading up some articles back when the first game came out, and that's when the big debate happened when people were debating on whether games were art or not,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
the game was so in depth and the character development was so good that people that weren't gamers realized that games can be art.
yeah.
Which
The
I think it's
that
cool.
one game theory video I sent you mentioned that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
We'll talk more about that later because that's spoiler territory. But
Actually, yeah. So this podcast, how it's going to work is the first half we're going to be spoiler free. We're going to be talking about how we feel about the game. The later half, we'll warn you, is going to be the spoiler part of the game. So if you haven't played the game or you don't want to hear spoilers, then tune off at that point. And yeah, so
but we're gonna make that very obvious.
yeah,
so we
we'll-
don't get spoiled.
We'll let you know. So I think the last time I played it was a couple weeks ago, but before that, I haven't played it. Me and Jay played it. What?
We played it the year it came out.
It came out in
Yeah,
2013.
like 7 years or something.
Yeah, on PS3.
Oh yeah, 7.
Yeah,
years.
PS3, 30 frames.
You played it first. It was your game, and then you let me borrow it, and then I played it
Oh,
after.
that's right.
I
Yeah.
remember watching you, JJ. I remember watching you play it, and
Mhm.
then I would look at your screen every once in a while and just see your neck getting bitten out by
Yeah.
an infected.
The
I was
game is
like,
extremely
what
gory.
in the world?
Yeah,
Very brutal.
but it's one of the best games I've ever played in my life.
I agree.
Maybe not gameplay wise, although the gameplay is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the real meat of the game is the story,
Exactly.
and that's what everyone talks about.
Well, from the beginning of the game, no spoilers whatsoever.
Yeah.
It just throws you in,
Oh, that's right.
and right before the credits. I mean, if you played it, you know what we're talking
The
about.
opening credits, you mean?
Yeah, right before the opening credits, where it basically introduces the game, you're already almost in tears, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the saddest intros ever.
They were able to invoke sadness in me in 15 minutes. In that
Mhm.
15 minutes, what is it, like a prologue? I
Yeah.
guess you
Yeah.
could call it. Than other games have done with 40 hours of gameplay.
pretty
Mhm.
much.
It's
And
insane.
they introduced the apocalypse at the same time.
Yeah, it was Outbreak Day, right?
It was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It showed a little bit before and then during, which it was just chaos.
Yeah, utter chaos.
What I liked about the virus, though, is based on a real thing. I forgot
The
what the name of
cordyceps.
it
Yeah.
was.
Cordyceps.
Cordyceps?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a fungal infection that infects ants. And what it does is it'll attach itself to the ant's brain, and the ant will basically become controlled by this fungus. And all the ant wants to do is infect other ants. So they'll go and hide on a leaf, and they'll basically be still alive while the fungus extends through their skull or their head and then shoots spores everywhere, infecting the entire colony. They don't eat the ants, but they just infect them with the spores.
And didn't you say that in I think a video that we both watched, he was mentioning that they're awake during this process?
Yeah, there's another game theory video. Is that what you're referring to
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Yeah, the ant is completely aware of what's happening during that.
Yeah,
So if that's the case with the humans, that's even more terrifying.
yeah.
Like
But
the humans are fully aware of what they're doing, basically hostage in their own body.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which I think is what made it at least more interesting, other than the other zombie games in that whole span of what, like couple years where everyone was making zombie games
And movies.
and movies.
shows.
Yeah, yeah,
That was the zombie craze.
yeah.
But it's a completely new take
Right.
because I don't think there's any other fungus infection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
I don't
so.
think
It's
So-
usually, what is it usually? Like
Some like
viral.
some unknown virus.
It reminds me of Plague Inc. a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't make a Last of Us DLC for Plague Inc.
No, I think it was kind of funny. People were saying on Reddit that Naughty Dog was trolling by releasing the game about a what is it? Not a virus, but like an epidemic
Mm-hmm.
during the coronavirus.
Oh.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they're saying it
Yeah.
was purposeful.
Oh yeah. Maybe.
Well, I mean, the game was... People knew about the game like 3-4 years ago. that it
We've
was
been
coming
waiting
out.
for this for years.
Yeah.
We saw it got delayed actually.
Did it really?
It got delayed until this June. Yeah.
We're talking about Last of Us 2. This is
Yeah.
the second one.
The
but-
second one
Mhm.
got delayed. That came out this year.
People thought it was going to be delayed because of the coronavirus, but they just released it.
Hmm.
Probably because of the leaks.
That's a whole new topic for another podcast.
And we're talking about The Last of Us 2 next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Or
going
the
to go
week
in
after?
depth. No, next week.
Are we doing it
Or sorry, not next week, but we
2
do
weeks ago?
bi-weekly.
Every,
podcast.
every, every
next
other week.
podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, so back to the first one. The first 15 minutes is so packed full of story, action, and just insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And it like I've heard some people say that the rest of the game is trying to catch up with what happened in the first 15 minutes, like trying to catch that whole like action packed kind of feel, but I disagree. I don't think the game is meant to be like extremely action.
This isn't Left 4 Dead we're talking about
Yeah,
here.
or even like Uncharted where there's massive set pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're meant to feel vulnerable in the world. You're not. It's
Yeah.
not a game where you just mow down hordes of zombies.
Yeah, you
It's
can
every
die.
shot counts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. That's why, since it's on console, they don't have snap to aim.
Yeah.
They automatically make it harder, so it doesn't just snap to the enemy's head immediately.
I noticed that in the beginning, and you, JJ, you were looking over, and I was like, "Why is this game so hard? I can't hit my shots." But you're like, "That's how the game is actually made to be played."
Yeah.
And if you turn on that snap to aim, you're just gonna have an easy time, and it's not gonna feel as good.
It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah,
Because ammo is so limited.
It is. It
You'll
really
pick
is.
up 2 bullets and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're supposed to get mostly headshots, but it usually takes like 3 shots to kill a zombie with a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
But if you pick up 3 bullets, that's usually 3 zombies dead.
not necessarily.
If you
if you can
depending
get
on the
headshots
zombie.
on all of them,
Depending on
yes.
the zombie.
Well, we can talk about some of the different types. So there's obviously the humans in the game, which I think it's what, like 3 body shots to kill them, and then a headshot for 1.
With the pistol at least.
Right. And then there's the infected, which they are kind of like, I think they call them runners.
The runners are the ones that turned, like there was what's the word? They had turned right before that, or like shortly before that.
It was like
Okay.
beginning of the virus.
And I think the more matured infected are called clickers.
Wait, not the beginning of the virus. You mean they're in the beginning stages?
The beginning stages.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then the more matured ones are the clickers, and those are the ones that you're actually terrified of.
Because you can't take them head on,
Right.
and you have to use a shiv to one-shot them,
Oh,
basically.
yeah.
You have to sneak up on them.
Essentially, yeah.
Well, clickers take 2 shivs.
Oh, in the first game,
In the
yeah.
Really? 2?
2. It was 2.
What?
Well, they're called clickers because they're blind,
Exactly, yeah.
and they click using some sort of echolocation,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll hear you very easily. So when you sneak up on them, you got to walk really slow.
Well, you got to stun it first, and then you shiv it.
Well, okay, that's like melee kill.
Yeah.
Now you can either get a headshot, because you have to get a headshot. I'm pretty sure you can't kill them with body shots.
You have to
can
get
you?
2 headshots with clickers.
2 headshots to kill them, and if they get a hold of you, you're dead.
Your jugular is out of your neck.
Yes, unless you have a shiv. So the game is it's really heightened on this whole stealth aspect. You can't just run around like Call of Duty and just think that you're going to survive. You're going to
which
die.
Chug was trying to do in the second game.
And it worked at some points, though, but just
No,
putting
you
it out
glitched your
there.
game doing it the first game.
I didn't glitch it.
In the first game, you ran past a whole section,
Oh.
and then Joel started T-posing, sliding around the ground because you weren't supposed to do
I
that.
didn't run past anything. I was going through the the sewer area outside of the city.
You said you had run past an area.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
So basically what happened was I went through this whole stealthy area and I died. But for some reason it saved ahead of time, and so it put me in front of that section, so I never ran through it.
No, that's weird.
So
So I remember you complaining because you died, and then you had to restart that whole
because I
part.
thought I
I had
to
a
restart
glitch
it
when I
but
played.
Yeah, you sent the video.
Yeah, the ladder towards the end of the game, the ladder a ladder fell on me. Then Joel started floating up in the air, and he was screaming Ellie over and over. And then he died. It was funny, but yeah. So the clickers, I think that's even in the second game, like carrying it over. No matter what, every time you run into him, you're anxious because you
Mhm.
know you can die right away, and the
Yeah.
game doesn't just hand you weapons and doesn't just hand you ammo like left and right. It's hard to find, and you have to be careful with your shots.
Mhm.
But what makes it even harder, though, is sometimes there'll be 5 to 10 of them in a room, and you have to
Oh,
stealthily take them
yes.
out before they see each other or hear you.
Well,
And
that
if one
first
sees you-
initial room,
Yeah.
remember that first initial room in the subway?
Uh,
You go into the room, and then there's a room, and then there's a hallway on the outside, and then there's a room in the middle, and then there's clickers everywhere.
the first one, right?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, and the scary thing is that if one zombie sees you, oh, I know what you're talking about. I just remembered. Yes, that part is hard.
Mm-hmm.
That part's really hard. I had to do that a couple times. If one zombie sees you, like for instance, one of the runners, if they see you, they'll start running after you, and then all the
Their
others.
screaming will alert the other ones.
Yeah, and then you basically have to take on these runners, which are hitting you, and then the clickers are coming, and once they grab you, you're dead. You're
pretty
dead.
much screwed.
Unless you have a shiv and you can stab it into their head.
The second game introduced the dodging mechanic, which was really useful.
I actually really like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, they could still one-shot you.
Yeah.
I feel like if the first game had that, though, it would be different.
Yeah,
the
not
first game
better.
it wouldn't be any better than it actually is. I feel like that they purposely
Yeah.
didn't put a dodge button in there.
Mm-hmm.
The first game is very linear.
It is.
There's no open world aspect at all.
Yeah.
And
There's exploration, but it's
Very slight.
while you're in
It's-
the linear
it's
area.
looting style exploration as
Yeah.
you go on.
Right.
It's not like you go wherever you want in the city and get gear.
Mhm.
It's just there's one house that you can go through, and if you want to stop and loot it, you can. If not, then you'll just be more limited in your next battle.
Yeah.
I like how they implemented when you finally go to a certain house or a room, the person like goes near where the exit is and says, "Oh, if you want to search this place, you can." Kind of like a little throw to, "Oh, go explore this place, get stuff."
Yeah.
I forget if they did it in the first game, but they
did.
had the hints in the second game.
Oh, the hints.
Oh,
Yeah, they
I
had it
don't
in the
know.
first one. They did.
they?
If you took too long trying to, not knowing what to do, it'll say click L3 to
That's not
find
for
the hint.
exploration though. That's just for
Puzzles.
getting
No,
to the
puzzles,
next area.
Which I actually think that the puzzles in the game were really interesting. I don't know if I call them puzzles though.
Do you guys remember
they're kind of just like figuring. Well, I guess you could call them puzzles.
You guys
but it's
remember that
yeah.
one puzzle with the boat?
Which one? The
With-
first one?
No, second one, where you had to take the rope and then throw it over and then climb up the
oh yeah.
balcony trying to get to.
Oh, that's right.
I don't want to say it just because.
Yeah, the second game's puzzles were really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the first games as much.
The second game basically does most of the puzzles with the addition of the rope.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
Yeah, but the first game, the majority of the puzzles are move this trash can in this area so you can jump on it and get up to a higher area, then pass through that place or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's not. They weren't like they didn't make you feel stupid or they weren't too annoying and complex to where you were getting angry. I think
Yeah, and
they were just right.
And I'm glad they did the underwater parts.
Yeah.
Well, because there's a lot of games that underwater sections I absolutely hate,
Yeah.
but they did it well in that game, the first one.
And there's a good balance of puzzles and fighting.
Mhm.
Because you'll be fighting for a while and then you'll get to a peaceful area where you can just kind of relax and solve the puzzle leisurely. And the characters interact while you do that.
Yeah, the
So-
pacing is so good.
So you can enjoy the story while you do the calm puzzle.
Yeah, one thing that I now that you mentioned that, I want to say that this game, I think a factor of why the story was so good and so it made you connect to the characters is because while you were playing throughout the game, all this dialogue was going on between them. And it was like some parts were funny and some parts were like saying things about the characters. And you see that in other games, but I think that they just nailed it so well.
Mhm.
And the interaction is so natural. Like some games, it just doesn't like feel right. You can tell that I don't know, it's like scripted. And this game, it's so like involving that you almost feel like this is an actual conversation.
You know
And-
they're
yeah.
actually bonding.
right,
And the-
exactly.
The two voice actors had great chemistry together.
yes,
They're both amazing.
Which
Yeah.
I love Troy Baker. I love Troy Baker. He's
Yeah.
such a good
Yeah.
voice actor.
he's Joel, right?
Yeah, he's Joel.
Hmm.
Same with the new game too. He was the
Yeah.
same voice actor, but
The lady who played Ellie too, she does an amazing job.
Yeah,
In the second game, there are a lot of flashbacks, and she plays Ellie as like 13, 16, 17, and an adult,
wow.
and
Huh.
she nailed all of them.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. That's actually really surprising.
Like the voice is just higher pitched,
Yeah,
and it's believable. It never takes you out of the moment.
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Huh.
But even like, I'm not gonna spoil, but the last lines of the game, they're so emotional.
And this is something else that I think that the first and the second game do really well, and I think it kind of just goes with the whole atmosphere and the world building. Is that there's a lot of times there's minimal dialogue, but it's so believable and so impactful that they don't need to have this whole entire speech or this whole entire
yeah, you just look at their emotions.
exactly the pairing with the emotions and the minimal dialogue. It's just like so impactful.
The facial expressions, though,
Yes, even in the first game, they look amazing.
Yeah,
I came
Better
from
than some games. that I've seen
7-year-old
now.
game, and you can see the emotion in animated characters' eyes.
Yeah.
well, Caleb,
And their
you never
faces.
played the remastered version.
No, I did.
They
You
didn't.
played the remastered?
Yeah, I just played it the other week.
60 frames?
60 frames.
That didn't change the
Oh,
graphics that much.
It didn't, but it
It does look really good
did
though.
feel a lot
Mhm.
smoother.
I remember when I first played it, I was walking around in the first scene, and I'm like, "Wow, this game looks amazing," and it feels amazing. But, like I was talking about earlier, off recording about the Witcher 3 graphics, like it's dated now, but it
Yeah.
still looks good.
Yeah, for its time, actually the first Last of Us game was top of the line.
Mhm.
The graphics were, way up there.
Like, it's
That
a-
was like setting the bar.
It's one of those games where I just want to replay it again.
It is a really good game. And it's another thing is that it's not too long and it's not too short, which I
About
really like.
12 hours, right?
About like 12 to 15, I'd say. Yeah.
Depends on how fast you complete certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's no collectibles,
no, not
There-
in the first one.
No, I don't think so.
so it's just straight up gameplay and story.
Yeah.
But
That's why the first one's more linear.
With exploration though, like we were going back to when we said that every shot counts.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go into a room and you get stocked up on everything. You feel so good. Be like, oh, dude, I have so many bullets in this. Then you get into a fight. You lose everything, and you're pretty much like, oh, I have nothing. Now I have to go and find this stuff again.
Well, usually that's your own fault if you lose everything, because you can either go stealth or you could just go guns blazing.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then all your bullets are gone.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I'd say this game is the most satisfying looting system
I was
I
going
have
to say that too.
ever played.
You feel rewarded for searching every cabinet, every drawer. Literally everything you search, you find one bullet and you're happy.
And because everything is so tense and ammo is scarce and materials are scarce, you wanna stay and loot. Like you don't want to just rush through like in some other games.
One small detail that I really liked about both games is the things that you loot. It's not like you don't find a whole pair of scissors. You can find a quarter of a pair of scissors.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
It's not like, oh, there's everything right here that I need to make a bomb, let's say. But you pick it all up and be like, wait, it's only half of what I need.
It's realistic.
It's like, it's a really cool detail that most people really overlooked.
And the crafting is super good in the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's simple, but it's so effective and so fun that you actually want to craft things.
Yeah. Like I would take time to get undercover and craft things because, you know, I knew that I needed it or I knew that it would help me in this situation. And also, what about the skill tree is really good too.
Yeah.
What were the skill trees in the first game? I don't remember.
I'm trying to think.
I think there's 4 categories. I think it was limited to 4.
Mm-hmm. Because in the new game, you get more and more skill trees.
Yeah.
You find like a magazine and it unlocks a new skill tree for you.
But in the first game, there was a base.
I think it was like combat, stealth, like weapon upgrades and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can upgrade your weapon in the first one too.
I always went down the health line first for some reason. Like
me too.
I wanted the most health that I can get.
Yeah. Which is another thing is that also you like you find alcohol and cloth to make med kits.
Yeah.
Or Molotovs.
Yeah. You go through those things like crazy. Med kits and stuff because you're always getting shot at, you're always getting hit, and like just the whole game is just really scarce and everything.
You know, in a lot of games when you have a Molotov and it just kind of feels like a dinky weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Last of Us games make Molotovs feel powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you have one, that's 5 or 6 zombies you could take out easily, or just an instant
a couple
kill
humans or
yeah.
Yeah.
You just throw it in a room and it'll spread to the enemies.
Yeah. Also, like saying that the Molotov is actually like impactful and actually like does things. The guns sound amazing. They feel amazing.
It sounds almost loud in your ears.
It does.
Kind of like realistic.
Yeah. And I think this is in the first game. I mean, I don't know if you experienced it, but like for instance, one time I shot an AI, a human, in the leg, and he got down on one knee, and I was gonna finish him off with like I think I had a crowbar or something. That sounds so violent. I had like a crowbar. I was gonna finish him off, but I stopped, and then he like looked up at me, and he's like, he said something like, I forget what he said, but he said something to me before I killed him. Oh no, he was pleading. That's what he was doing. He was asking me not to kill him.
So could you have spared him?
I think he probably would have attacked me. I think the game's too linear for that. But it was like on the fly. It wasn't scripted or anything. Which that stuff happens in the second game as well.
It happened to me a couple times too.
Yeah, they'll like say something just before they die or like plead and ask for you to like spare them.
I shot some dude's arm off with the hunting pistol. And he was on the ground. He was just like looked up and he's like, ah. It's like, why?
Yeah, the second game is way more violent than the first game. But I think, Chug, weren't you saying that the first game does have people that scream, like if you shoot their leg off or something?
Yeah, JJ was mentioning that the AI, if you're in a certain area in the second game, the AI will actually yell out to the people where they are. So if you're behind a car, you hear like somebody say like, "Oh, Tom, he's by the car."
They never say names in the first game.
They didn't say names, but in the second game, they do say names.
Yeah.
But in the first game, they did have that. They just scream out, "Oh, he's behind the car," or "Oh, he's behind the desk," or they actually detect where you are.
Yeah.
And then they all know to rush you at that one location.
Yeah. Even in the first game, it's really impressive for a game that's 7 years old.
Well,
the AI was so good.
It came out 7 years ago.
Yeah,
they
but
created it even before that.
It's pretty impressive, actually.
So
that's why when it came out, it like stormed all like everyone. It's just like, what is this game? And that's just the mechanics and the graphics.
No, I think it's crazy though.
I'm mad that I didn't get to play it in 2013.
Yeah, but I mean, you get to play it now though.
Yeah, I played the first one for the first time like like last week.
I was gonna say, like, I've been to a game shop or something, and they had a used copy of the game for like $5 to $10.
Yeah.
That's an amazing price for that game.
Yeah.
I mean, GTA, they still ask for $60 or sometimes $30, like years later.
Yeah. If anyone has a PS3 lying around and you have a couple bucks to spare,
Or PS4, and if you want 60 frames, with
Yeah,
the remaster.
but you can pick up the game on PS3 for like $5.
yeah,
It's so worth it.
Probably one of the best games ever.
It is, yeah. I'd say
I mean,
so.
I really enjoyed the gameplay, but you don't stay for the gameplay.
It's story.
The basics of the story is a guy named Joel meets up with a young girl named Ellie, and it's basically like a father-daughter dynamic there.
Mhm.
And yeah, Joel and Ellie basically take a road trip across the U.S., and they meet up with tons of people along the way, and people die and people get captured, and it's just, but the dynamic between the two is so believable and so real that you care about them both deeply.
Yeah. It's honestly the best character development I've ever seen.
yeah.
And
I mean,
even the side character.
Red Dead 2 rivals that.
I haven't played it yet.
You gotta play that later on.
Yeah, I haven't played it yet.
But I'm gonna compare it a little bit. But the difference is you don't get to know two characters like you do in Last of Us. It's more of like a dynamic between a bunch of characters
Yeah.
that you get to know, and you get to like
It's a
them
whole
all.
camp.
Yeah, but the reason you care about Joel and Ellie so much is that it's pretty much only their relationship is all they have in that terrible world, and they bring so much emotion out of that. We can't talk spoilers, but
Yeah. I mean, there's even like we were talking about dialogue during gameplay, and like in the cutscenes, you'll see them laughing together. And what's cool is you see the progression throughout the game, and you see the relationship building. It's not just one cutscene and then now they're friends or whatever.
and they also talk about various things over the course of the game. Like you mentioned the whistling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So at one point, like towards the beginning of the game, you'll be I think it's during like a puzzle or something. Ellie will be like trying to whistle, but like it'll just like airy, and if you look at her, she's like trying to whistle too. And then Joel will ask, what are you doing? And then she says like, I don't know how to whistle. And he's like, you don't know how to whistle? And then like towards the end of the game, you'll hear her and she'll whistle, and then she'll be like, and then she'd say, oh, I know how to whistle now. And then you see like the dynamic change. So he'll be like, all excited or whatever. But it's like stuff like that. You'll see progression throughout the game. It's not something happens and they forget about it later on in the game. Something happens and it comes back.
The small stuff that like makes you appreciate the characters.
Yeah, it's the small details that they really put the work into that makes it such a natural growth.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they use seemingly meaningless interactions to make it feel real.
Yeah.
They don't put cringy dialogue. Like, I don't think there's anything cringy in the first game.
No.
The second game, yeah, but
yeah,
a little bit. With the first game, I think all the dialogue is good.
Yeah.
I don't remember all of the characters, but Joel and Ellie, though, you care about them so much.
See, but this is the thing. You haven't played the game in 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've watched some of the cutscenes recently.
Yeah. I mean, I played it when it first came out too, but I played it a couple weeks ago before I played the second game. Chug played it, a couple days ago?
Yeah, I beat it on like Sunday or something.
You still remember the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
You still remember the little things, and you still remember the game being really good.
And you haven't played it in years.
Yeah. I don't think there's any other game I could say that I've just remembered so much about it and been so fond of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's my favorite game of all time, but it's definitely the most memorable.
Yeah. It's my favorite game.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many other games I like too.
It's weird because it was like, for a while, it was Last of Us and Witcher 3, but then I played Last of Us again. I'm like, no. No, it's Last of Us. Because personally, I favor story and character development over gameplay mechanics.
I'd say the story is probably the best of any game.
Yeah.
Definitely the story. The gameplay is fun, but it's so-so. It's not anything that like you're like, oh, I want to play this again. But the story complements the gameplay.
I say the gameplay's solid.
Yeah.
It's really solid.
It's not bad at all. It's really fun, but it's nothing groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying there was a lot of gameplay and a lot of cutscenes like mixed in with it.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of story. So when you play it, you're gonna really like the game too.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think that's why the game is so story based, because they put a lot of work into cutscenes as
Yeah.
well. How many hours of?
I said I don't know. I really don't know how many.
I think the second game had like 10 hours.
10
I saw a couple videos on YouTube, and they were like nearing 10 hours of
What about the
cutscenes.
second game?
No, that's what I mean.
Second game, yeah.
No, definitely not the first
no,
game.
the first game had like 3.
If there was 10 hours of
2 or
cutscenes, there'd be
3
like
hours
2 hours of gameplay.
Yeah.
But you learn to appreciate the cutscenes in The Last of Us, though.
Yeah.
I don't think people fully understand how much of a difference there is between that game and an average movie. Like,
yeah.
you can fall in love with characters in TV shows a lot easier than movies.
Yeah.
Because in a movie, they only have an hour or two to work with.
Yeah, but over 12 hours or so, you really know those characters.
But that's why
I feel like you know them.
So
that's why I feel game stories are better than movies.
Oh, yeah.
stories.
Well, what is it? If you know those people that don't play video games. I mean, there's probably a lot of people that some people.
Well, someone who's
to
listening to this probably plays video
yeah.
games.
But I'm just saying the people that don't usually play video games. Sometimes they like, oh, I wanna watch someone play this game because I can't play it myself.
Oh yeah.
So they watch like the cutscenes all put together. That does not suffice most of the time.
Yeah.
Because there's literally maybe, let's say Last of Us 1, that's about 2 to 3 hours of cutscenes. The entire game is 12. What happens in the other 9?
yeah.
That person doesn't get to experience it themselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like we were saying before, there's dialogue during gameplay, and those little dialogue things come back later.
They
and-
really sell it for you,
Yeah.
exactly yeah.
the interactions between them. Because in movies, you don't get to see those little things.
Mm-hmm.
They usually only show the most impactful things.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, shows are a little different because they have many episodes
Yeah.
to introduce you to the characters and show you their quirks. But the Last of Us games, they just have so much in them.
I think even like speaking about that, I think that it even one-ups TV shows because you get to play as the characters. So
That's true.
You are that character, so you're put in the place of that character.
You get to control it.
It's a
however
different
you
feeling.
want.
It's yeah. I think there's more opportunities for story building in video games than any other media format.
Opportunities, but it doesn't happen often.
It doesn't. No.
It's very rare to find a game like this.
Well, because most games they prefer flashy game mechanics rather than in-depth story development.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What was a game that came out in the last couple of years that we were really, really sad about?
Sad.
Or not sad about, just like disappointed. That's the better word.
I mean, Sea of Thieves when it came out,
It's
yeah,
better
but
now.
we weren't expecting.
When it came out, we were
expecting.
disappointed.
Well, I was expecting it to
we
be
were
better.
expecting.
We weren't expecting it to have a story.
No.
Oh, you're
So-
talking about
talking about
story-wise?
I'm talking about
story.
story-based games.
I don't play a lot of them, to be honest, so I'm not sure.
I'm not
Oh,
entirely
okay.
sure. Why? Is there one that comes to mind for you?
No, that's why I'm asking you guys.
I don't think so, but it is rare to see developers put that much time into a story like it was with The Last of Us game.
Well, it took 7 years to make the second one.
Oh yeah,
there's
you're right.
there's a lot of different things.
The
in that
second one's
game
like twice
which-
as long.
Yeah, there's I can't even explain it, honestly.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in the next podcast. So I think that's gonna be it for the first half of this podcast. So this is the spoiler warning. So from here on out, we're actually gonna be talking about a lot of spoilers. So if you don't want to hear that, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
Turn back now.
Yes,
You have been
turn
warned.
back. You have been warned.
If you're not planning on seeing anything about the game and wanting to play it yourself, just tune off. So
If you haven't played the game, I recommend not listening to this because
Yeah,
you should play the
exactly.
game rather than listening to our thoughts about it. Come back later and listen to our thoughts about it, but first play the game.
It's really worth playing without spoilers
Yes.
because the ending. I
Yes.
watched the final scenes the other day, and even the last line Ellie says, just the way she says "okay,"
It's so
And then
good.
roll credits, like,
And then that song.
yeah,
that song is
That
good.
awesome song that plays. It's so good.
When I first beat it, like on Sunday, I think, but I was just sitting there, like watching the credits. I was just like thinking about what
yeah.
the game just like. I don't know.
This is why I love this game so much is because you travel throughout the whole country with Joel and Ellie. You get to see people die that you actually care about, and then at the end of the game, there's this massive turn, and you're happy about it.
You love
shouldn't be.
Joel, and he turns into a psychopath, and you're like, yes.
You're like, yes. You're killing innocent people almost, and you're like, yes.
But it doesn't matter because you like Ellie so much.
Yes, it's so messed up, but
They-
it's so good.
they take all morality out of it.
Pretty
exactly.
much.
I think that choice is called like the trolley or paradox or something. I forget what it's called. But basically, it's the choice between moving the track to kill one person or killing a group of people. But you know the person on the other track. So like, would you rather kill 5 people or save the person you love? And that's an interesting twist on that. I don't know what you call that. Like, philosophical dilemma, something like that.
But what's crazy is in the game, you can't really get attached to any other characters besides just Joel and Ellie.
Well,
I didn't remember most, to be honest.
Okay, well, let's start from the start. First 15 minutes.
Joel's daughter
dies. And that's sad.
But it was a stupid
really
reason, though, because of the stupid security guard.
I know, but this is what kickstarts the whole dynamic later on. What I'm trying to say is that it was so sad, I didn't even know her that well.
Yeah.
I cared about
the way
her.
they portrayed her
the
death.
emotion in her and what
Joel.
you saw beforehand. You were actually playing as her, so that was a big
I kind of
plus
like that,
to it.
actually. I like how they made it you playing her first. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's part of the factor of why you were so sad that she died.
Yeah. And she gave him the watch and stuff, so you already kind of care about their relationship.
Yeah.
And so in 15 minutes, you see their relationship like progress a little bit, and then everything turns to poop, and then she dies, and you're like about to cry.
I know, it's like
thinking about it now, I actually kind of like want to cry.
But it wasn't like a drawn out death sequence. I mean,
it wasn't.
It was.
She just
it was
died.
fast. It was just.
That's with all the games.
Well,
or
it wasn't like that with her.
It was
she
maybe
took a
it
couple
was a
seconds
little,
to
it was
die.
a little longer, but she was crying. But he never said anything to her.
It's not like the second game where a character gets shot in the head and boom, they're just gone. You're like, oh, I liked him. Okay, moving on.
And then you have to process it like while you're keeping up
playing.
with the story, and it's like, what just happened right now? Like I'm in shock.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know. It's just, you haven't played the game in 7 years yet. You still are sad about that one death that you were introduced to the character in 15 minutes.
People always say Up is sad. No, Last of Us.
Last of
minutes
Us,
is sad.
when real men cry.
Yes,
Last
exactly.
of Us. Literally.
Like I don't know. I don't even know her name, to be honest. I forget her name.
It was.
I don't remember either.
Jenna.
No, it wasn't Jenna. I know that.
I
You gonna pull it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up.
But-
I don't know.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, his daughter's death basically sets in motion the rest of the game.
Well, she dies, and then Last of Us pops up on the
Sarah.
screen. Sarah. That's what
It was
it
like
was.
15 years
Last
after.
of Us pops up on the screen,
15 or 20.
and then it basically goes and tells, and then it has like the
news flash.
intro credits telling you about what's happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so genius. Like the first 15 minutes is so good.
Hey Chug, as you were playing it, I was looking over at you like, I wonder what he's thinking right now. Because I can't relive the first time I played it ever. Because there's so many emotions going through your head when you play it.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna mention. You can never replay the game the same.
Because you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I even like was really sad when that happened. Like, I kind of forgot how I felt when I played through it a couple weeks ago. But even like when she died, I just like I sat back and I was like, no.
Yeah.
No,
Why?
But the initial, right before the guard shot, he says, but if there's a little girl.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but. And then there's like 3 dots on the screen. I'm like, it's like,
Why did
no.
the guard shoot?
I think it was because
She wasn't bitten.
no, they weren't bitten, but I think that their goal was to take out all the people on the outside.
Probably like
Because they were
Was that a
outside the
government?
city.
Was he from the government?
He
Yeah.
was from the quarantine zones.
He was the government. He wasn't.
There were quarantine zones at that time.
No,
that
but
was
they were-
outbreak day.
They're
Yeah.
going to turn it into a quarantine zone.
So they're already planning.
It all
think
happened
so.
in one night. Yeah.
They probably immediately instituted martial law and just took over.
Yeah.
Because in the second game, they tell a lot about Fedra and all the
Yeah.
government things that
It's
were
gone.
overrun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting to see that because you never see the beginning stages in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
You just see the outbreak day, and then it goes 15 years in the future.
Yeah.
Second game explores some backstory
Yeah.
about what happened in certain cities.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear a lot about the quarantine zones.
Yeah.
So what happened to Joel after that?
Jo-
20 years passed.
No, it was 15, I think.
It was 20.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember. It's either 15 or 20. But
Okay.
yeah, so after that point, it cuts to him and Tess, which is a new character.
It was his wife?
No. They weren't married. I think they were kind of like
Off and on
off
kind of
and
thing.
on type thing. Yeah, they work together. I think they what was it? They transport illegal guns.
I think so, yeah.
So basically, you see that first 15 minutes, Sarah dies, and then all of a sudden 15, 20 years passes, and then
This is 15, 20 years of the virus, too. So it's like
Right.
so much had passed.
But
The
now
world's
Joel-
just destroyed.
yeah, and Joel's basically a criminal. Like he transports illegal
There is no
guns.
law. There is no
Yeah.
morality anymore.
Right. And then there's like this conflict between, Fedra and the Fireflies, which I think,
At
I don't know.
first,
They were just one group.
yeah, but I think they were, I don't know, I guess you can call them a terrorist kind of group because even in the second game, like later on, you'll hear characters talk about like they blew up checkpoints and they killed innocent guards that were just trying to do their job.
Hmm.
So
Were they
Well, I
trying to
don't know.
institute some sort of new order or something?
I think
Because they wanted the cure so badly. I wonder what their agenda was with that. Because
yeah, there's
the
not-
Fireflies are never portrayed as good,
Mhm.
except for
well, there was
kind of with Abby in the second game.
Well,
but
no, Jid,
yeah.
actually, when you first meet Tommy at the dam, you see that what is it?
He left the Fireflies.
Yeah, he and a bunch of people that realized the Fireflies weren't that good finally left and then wanted to build a community together.
I think that's kind of the lesson in the whole game, though, is there's really no good people anymore.
Mhm.
There's no good institutions.
Well, I mean, the people that left the Fireflies, those were really the only good people that I've noticed.
The only good,
Because they wanted to build life back up to what it was
Right.
originally.
the only good people I'd say is Jackson.
Yeah, I mean the whole game is about the last survivors
Yeah.
and how they don't even have humanity anymore. Basically,
Yeah.
the old morality doesn't matter because they just kill for survival. And with Joel, it focuses on him mostly because of
Mhm.
his loss in the beginning, and then with his relationship with Ellie. And I saw someone writing that basically Ellie was his only reason to live
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because he was kind of a criminal for many years, doing horrible things, but then he finally found a little bit of humanity in Ellie,
Yeah.
and that's what gave him the reason to live. And he basically saw the rest of humanity as it can't be saved,
Yeah.
even with a cure. They're too terrible. They're gonna kill each other anyway, and he'd rather choose to live life with Ellie and die while seeing the rest of the world die.
That's interesting.
Like he
Yeah.
chose Ellie over the fate of the entire world potentially,
Which, if
Yeah.
we were put in that predicament, would we do the same?
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about it. Joel lost his daughter, and then 15, 20 years went by where he saw all these messed up things. He saw the world with, how it is now.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's probably right, Ellie
Like,
was
like
the
he says
last,
in the second game, I would do it all over again.
Yeah.
And he's not remorseful for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, I mentioned in the beginning, there's a game theory video. I don't think you saw it, but basically, game theory?
I've heard of them. I've seen a few videos.
Basically,
so.
he was going on about the fact that in modern medicine, there is no such thing as a vaccine for a fungal infection.
Yeah.
Not even with our modern hospitals and labs. It's never been done. And it's not even possible currently. So how would the Fireflies, with no modern technology, do that?
Well, it was their only chance, quote unquote.
It was a chance, but then he goes on to say
Yeah.
that if they wanted to do that, the most effective way to get a cure were from antibodies in her blood,
Yeah.
and killing her was the worst possible option. So if they had killed her, there would be no hope anyway. So technically, Joel's choice didn't matter for anything. He just got to
Huh.
save Ellie.
And he also said, what was it? The Fireflies are just a bunch of dummies. It was
Basically,
good that
yeah.
Joel killed them or whatever.
So I don't know if Naughty Dog had that in mind.
I personally, I don't think so. I think too much of the first game and too much of the second game focuses on that entire decision and the consequences of it. I think they just didn't know the science behind it. I think
Probably.
that,
But
that
they
kinda
obviously knew
breaks-
about cordyceps, so I'm sure they did some research on fungus.
right. But I mean, it's fictional. I don't know. I don't think that it could be that way because if the whole entire story leads up to that one point and that whole turning point at the end of the game, I don't think that they would have like, I don't think they would implement that kind of plot hole into that.
Well, Jitty,
Mhm.
what year was it in the game?
2012 or 13, I believe.
13.
It was supposed to be the time the game was released.
2013 is when the virus broke out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
20 years later, that's 2033.
It's not 20 years later. Oh, you're right. Yeah.
2033. So there might have possibly been a chance.
No, and that because modern technology.
It
Doesn't have
ceased.
that.
It stopped probably at that point.
Mm-hmm.
All research and development probably completely
The world was
stopped.
destroyed.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
the
can see
world
that.
halted basically.
You know what I'd be interested in seeing though? What happens overseas? Because did they say that the world was destroyed everywhere?
I think. I don't
Like
know,
how
actually.
did the virus get transmitted overseas if it was started in the U.S.?
Was
like-
it started in the U.S.?
I mean, probably.
That would be kind of interesting, actually.
Well, I mean, that's just the northern hemisphere.
But
Or
you
no,
know,
the western hemisphere.
the whole
sorry.
world is destroyed,
Western
or the
hemisphere.
whole United States is destroyed at least.
Yeah, but that means Canada's connected to the United States, so obviously they have it. Mexico,
Yeah, but what
maybe
about-
South
What
America?
about Australia?
Oh, I don't know.
What about I don't know, Europe or something?
It might have spread
Possibly.
somewhere.
I mean, maybe by the spores. So the
Yeah.
spores were everywhere. But one thing I was kind of confused about is how it spread so quickly when it takes a little bit for the virus to take hold. Like, it's not like other zombie movies where the zombie will bite the person and they'll fall down and instantly change.
It's a couple days.
Yeah, so like on Outbreak Day, how the zombies are just running in eating people. So how are they not able to be stopped before the virus took hold and just shot the people who were bit?
I don't know. It must have been that was like the peak of the infection. It probably was like an underlying thing for a little bit. No one really understood it. And then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, I guess a majority of people had it at that point, and then it just, that was the peak of everything.
Maybe the
Yeah.
spores started spreading somehow,
Yeah.
and then they somehow mutated to spread to humans.
Yeah.
Because in that other game theory video, that virus or that fungal infection has been detected in cows. So if it can mutate like that and spread to other species, it could have happened with the cordyceps.
We're going to see Last of Us in real life.
Imagine Last of Us. Imagine if they make Last of Us 3. It's like zombie cows.
Zombie cows.
That'd be amazing.
What'd you guys think of Tess? Was
I
was her
thought-
death impactful for you guys?
I don't remember how I felt 7 years ago. Honestly, I forgot about her.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of knew that something was gonna happen to her because either she was gonna go away or she was gonna die. Any like I kind of knew that beforehand
Yeah.
because obviously I've seen the game before and I've seen Ellie and Joel going just together.
Yeah.
So obviously I knew that something was gonna happen to her, so I didn't really get that attached.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember she was kind of a jerk a little bit.
Yeah.
She
Or
yeah,
she was
well,
a little
she's
bit.
like hardened. She was hardened.
Yeah.
Because she's practically a criminal. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think her death was, at least for me, I didn't really get too impacted by it. But I will say that I think that's after that point, that's where the story really kicks off.
Well,
it's because now it's
initially-
just Joel and Ellie.
That's what the first point you see that somebody besides his daughter, that like an adult, somebody just dies that was a part of the story
Mm-hmm.
that you've seen for maybe an hour or two beforehand. That was the first initial like, oh, this game is not gonna be very
Yeah.
what is the word?
Like, I don't know, friendly.
Yeah, something like that.
People just die.
Pretty much.
Also, I was gonna say, oh yeah, and then when Tess dies, you hear Ellie, saying like, being all surprised and shocked that like Tess died. I think she wasn't really exposed to too much death. I know that in the DLC that
Her best friend.
her best friend died, but other than that, I think that she wasn't exposed too much, and that's why throughout the game you actually hear her commenting on Joel killing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird
How
because
the
like
tables have turned in the second game.
so really turned.
She
Like-
became Joel in the period where he didn't have Ellie.
Yeah, she became Joel on steroids.
Yeah,
She's just like crazy.
she's a psycho.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm interested to see what your guys' thoughts in the next podcast about how she's changed,
Mm-hmm.
like personality wise.
I gotta get to the ending first though.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can obviously see the change
Oh, obviously.
from the start of the game.
Yeah.
She's a different person. You find out in the second game, it's not a spoiler, but you find out that she actually knew that Joel did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And so that brings new meaning to the ending of the first game.
Yeah.
Do you think that takes away from how good the first game was? since they changed that in the second game?
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think that they really need to make a second game.
I don't think so either, because
Like,
I mentioned earlier, the way she said okay, it's open-ended. Like, there's emotion in her voice. Like, either it's I believe you or I totally don't believe you.
mm-hmm.
And it was very open-ended with how the game finished out.
The ending was perfect.
Yeah, and it didn't need to be explained further. I would have been happy never having a sequel.
Me too. I think that's honestly, I'd say that's the biggest uphill battle that the second game has, is proving it deserves to exist.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. I would have been completely happy if it was just the first game. I think,
Like, the second game can basically be some fan fiction there.
yeah.
It can be a different universe if you think of it like that.
That
Alternate
would be a
reality.
lot better, actually.
No, well, that would just be weird
Well-
if they made it official like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is how it is now. But I think if we were theoretically thinking of it this way, that I think it would have been completely fine with the first game.
Definitely. I mean, I wasn't asking for a second game after that.
No, me neither.
Although I really did want to find out what happened afterwards.
Same.
After I played the first game. But now, actually, after I know what happens afterwards, either it was because a second game could have been better,
Mm-hmm.
or because I didn't actually need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you were,
Not knowing was
Just-
the best part.
or yeah, exactly.
It's just the suspense there.
Yeah.
What about Henry and what's his brother's name?
I gotta look this up. Yeah, the two brothers.
I don't remember
Yeah,
them.
The two.
You don't?
No, I don't.
You don't? They
Really?
were in the game for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember them.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
I actually didn't remember Tommy either, to be honest.
Tommy was awesome. I love Tommy.
I love him
I-
in the second game.
I know. I really like Tommy, actually.
Tommy's the best.
Yes.
Like, wait, what if this is totally different? But I'm
Henry
saying
and Sam.
Henry and Sam, yeah, Sam. We can go back to Henry and Sam afterwards, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, what if there was an alternate timeline type of thing
Mm-hmm.
where Joel lets Tommy take Ellie to the hospital? What
Oh,
would
and
it
at
be
one
like?
point,
Yeah,
because there was a point in the game where, I think it was, what, midway?
it was at the dam.
Yeah. Joel was actually going to let Tommy take Ellie because he didn't know where the Fireflies headquarters or the hospital was. So Tommy was going to bring her. And then Ellie ran off because she was sad. She basically, she got to the point where she realized that everyone else in her life left or died.
And she knew that Joel was gonna hand her over to Tommy.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
Joel was the only person that has stayed in her life
for a long period of time.
consistently, because she's lived in a world where she had no one.
Yeah.
And
So
Joel
at that
was the
point,
last
she really
thing.
cared about Joel, and she didn't want Joel to leave.
Yeah, and then I think at that point it's the real tipping point for Joel, at least, because you can tell that he really cares about her up until that point.
Yeah, that's where they start like really bonding.
Yeah. And then he chooses to bring her. And then that's, I don't know, it's
But what
Just
if
so-
what if
so
he
good.
what if he turned her over to Tommy?
I don't think it would be even close to as impactful.
Yeah,
'Cause
but-
then
But
he-
what would Tommy do at the hospital though? Would he save her?
He would have let her. I think he would have let her,
Die.
yes.
'Cause remember the beginning of the second game where Joel was telling Tommy this?
Mm-hmm.
He was surprised, but
yeah.
he said I would have done the same thing in your shoes.
Oh yeah, but he also
He didn't care about her as much.
Yes, but if it was in the middle of the trip, I don't think he would have had as all the experiences beforehand that Joel and Ellie had.
true. Okay, I can see that.
If it went that way, I don't think it would be nearly as good of a game
Mm-hmm.
as it is now.
Yeah, an alternate timeline where it's not good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that point I think is really interesting. Also, we talk about Ellie being changed in the second one, but if you're thinking about it, she did have a pretty reasonable change in the first game. Do you guys remember when, what was it? It was at the college, and Joel, I think he fell and he got stabbed or something.
Oh yeah,
And he
on
was
the,
sick
on the
for-
pipe thing.
Yeah, and he was sick for a long time. And Ellie was kind of like fending for the both of us. And then there was that psychopath guy that captured her. It was
Yeah.
that part with the diner.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That part, I think, changed like her.
When she just bashed the guy's head in like with the machete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although what I think changed Ellie the most was the realization that her life is not going to matter.
Yeah.
She wanted to save humanity potentially, and even if she died, she didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole conflict of the second game, is she was changed completely after realizing that the only chance she had at at meaning was taken away from her.
Yeah.
So she actually did care for the good of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You see Joel's motives too.
Yeah, but like speaking of the first game, I think that there is like a noticeable change in Ellie's character.
Well, you notice
that
that with Henry and Sam, where
that's right.
You
That was
meet up with
before the
Henry
dam.
and Sam, and then you end up teaming with them for a couple hours actually, and then you finally get to this outpost, and you're like, oh, this is cool. It's like you're bonding with like friends and different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sam pulls his leg up and shows a bite mark on it, and then you're like,
It's over.
really?
Yeah.
And then when Ellie goes in, then Henry shoots Sam, and he was like devastated. And then he shoots himself.
Yeah. And then
I was just like, "What is happening right now?"
but it goes black at that point.
Yeah.
And then it skips. What is it, like a couple months later or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And then it goes to the dam part. But that's like another example of how good Naughty Dog is at character development.
Yeah.
You only get a couple hours with those characters, but by the time they die, you're like sad and you're shocked and
Your eyes are wide and just staring at your
Yeah.
screen like, what?
Like when you were playing the games, you would pause it and you just stare. I'd be watching from my computer and I'd see the person die and I see you just pause it. Just stare at it and be like, ponder what just happened.
The game is so good at that. It's crazy. But yeah, there is a noticeable change like at that point because she actually did. It's almost like
she cared about Sam.
Yeah, they were kind of like friends. I don't know. It was,
She got him the toy too.
Yeah,
if you
I
remember
know.
that, she gave him the toy that he wanted.
yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know.
I think that's kind of like a lot of what like bonded Joel and Ellie too. Because
Yeah.
like Tess died, and and Henry and Sam died, and like through all this death, like, they're still together and they're still
Yeah, they're the only ones left after all of that they've been through together.
Mm-hmm.
Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
They're the last of pretty much like
They're-
anyone they cared about.
They're friends. Pretty
Yeah.
Much.
But yeah, that one part where she kills a psychopath with a machete or whatever, and just like bashes him over and over. You can see like in the next couple like scenes, Joel will like say something and she like wouldn't be paying attention. She should be staring.
Yeah.
And she, like she's just like she was out of it, and she's like different.
In the second game, she's talking to Dina. Is that how you say her name?
Dina, yeah, I
Mhm.
think.
Forgettable character. And they're asking each other when was the first time they killed a person, and she said 13. So when she was with Joel, that was like the first time she ever killed a human.
Wait,
I
which one?
think it was.
the
I think
one...
it was her friend.
No,
She didn't kill her. No.
No,
They.
it was the when Joel was being pushed under the water by that
Oh,
one
that's
enemy,
right.
and she pulled out the gun that Joel
And
let her
saved
have,
him.
and then shot the guy in the head.
It was that
No,
point.
No, it was before he gave her a gun. It was beforehand.
Oh,
remember?
she picked it up.
She picked up Joel's gun and shot
I
the guy.
remember that.
And then
Yeah,
that's
it was-
where he started to realize that she needs a gun.
Yeah, because he was getting drowned,
Yeah.
and then she killed the guy, and it was either Joel or
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never played the DLC, but I've read a recap of it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, her and her best friend are at some sort of college or school or something.
Something like that.
And
Arcade, I thought. So, or,
something.
I don't know,
Well, no,
maybe.
they're like under some rule of some
Oh yeah.
head or something. So they sneaked out somehow, and they fought a bunch of infected. And eventually, her best friend got bit. No, they both got bit.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Mhm.
when she realized she was immune. Because they said, "All right, we're just gonna wait this out and die together," like poetically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Her friend died, and she survived. And
Yeah.
then shortly, like right after that, is when she met Joel.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how she knew she was immune.
It's like what I was saying before at the dam. Like she either lost or people left like in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Like people have died, and Joel was the last.
Where did her parents go?
I don't know actually. I don't know if they ever really touch on that.
Well, obviously, I know that you guys don't know this. So you guys are asking that question. So obviously, I know that The Last of Us 2 doesn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah,
so.
no, they don't go that far back.
If they dealt with that, you would have seen it already.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And yeah.
The big
Well, I was
point is
thinking
hers
maybe,
and
like,
Joel's
the-
relationship.
That like lady they were trying to worship or whatever was.
I think that'd
mom
be too
somehow.
disconnected.
No, that'd be
Yeah.
lame.
That's
That would be
That would be
cringe.
lame.
That's yeah. That's Seattle. They're
Oh, that's right.
Fireflies are in Boston.
Okay, I
It's-
remember that.
That's pretty far away.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's actually interesting that they're like each city kind of has different factions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, you know, Boston has the Fireflies, Seattle has what is it, WLF?
They're not just in Boston though; they're everywhere. They're in Seattle too.
Hmm.
They're in Santa something, California.
Yeah.
Later on, the Fireflies are all over the U.S., so you can assume that there are little pockets of them all over the place.
Yeah.
What about
Um,
Fedra? Are they just all over the U.S. too?
Yeah, I think during the first game they were actually still around Fedra.
Do you fight them at all?
I can't remember.
I don't think you do.
The government's completely gone.
Yeah.
It's just toppled.
Well, I mean, there's the QZs, which are kind of like governments.
Still around?
No, the quarantine zones were probably run by survivors at that point.
Mhm.
Not the,
At
not the
that
government.
point, yeah. I think the government in the beginning of the outbreak, I think they made QZ zones. That's where Ellie came from.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ellie came from a QZ zone in
Well, she wasn't
Boston.
born until later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what do they call it? Infected baby or what do they call that?
Uh,
Someone who was born after the fall.
I don't know.
They called it something.
Millennials.
Boomer.
No. But yeah, most of the governments had fallen at that point,
Yeah.
and so it was left with just factions that were just battling it out.
Yeah. Hmm.
Fireflies, the Scars, Seraphites, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were just in Seattle, as far as I know, and on their
Yeah.
little island there.
Mm-hmm. But I think I want to talk more about the ending.
Okay.
Like,
Of the first one, right?
yeah, this one's about the first one. I mean, I know we're like kind of referencing the second one, but
Mhm.
just
Wait, what was the Firefly lady's name?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, when Joel shoots her in the face.
Yeah.
He's just like, you're going to come after her and just...
The messed up thing is that I was rooting him on, like even though he just
Yeah.
killed
Yeah, I'm
an
like,
innocent
yes.
lady that wanted
she
to.
wasn't innocent.
Well, okay. In retrospect, like thinking of it in the big picture, she was innocent. Like a lot of those
If
people.
remember the second one, she didn't want that to happen.
She didn't.
Didn't want what to happen.
She didn't want
She
Ellie
didn't want-
to die.
She raised
That's
Ellie.
true, but
She
raised-
practically raised Ellie. Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
she remember from
She
the
took her
first
in.
one when she was telling Joel that everything that was happening. She said, "Her mother wanted me to take care of her."
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Why are you doing this then?"
and she said, I have more reason than anyone else to not want this to happen," which I think is kind of interesting that she said that, because maybe if it was someone else other than Joel, they would have been okay, or at least okay
she
with that
mirrored
decision.
his daughter that he lost.
That's what I'm
That
saying.
was the big thing.
That's why it's so impactful, is because Ellie was basically his daughter reincarnated in a way.
I mean, you don't hear about Joel's wife at all,
No,
but
I think she died previously.
all he had left before the outbreak was
His
Ellie,
daughter.
or not Ellie, Sarah.
And
Mhm.
Tommy.
Yeah, but he cared about his daughter a lot. You can,
Yeah.
you can see
Yeah.
that. Didn't him and Tommy have a falling out?
They did.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between the outbreak day and somewhere in between the outbreak day and like what is it? When he meets Ellie.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I honestly I think if it was someone else other than Joel that didn't have that background, I think they probably would have made the same decision as the lady from the Fireflies.
And also, what if Ellie was awake? She was
No, she was put
she
under.
was unconscious.
She was on.
anyways.
She had drugs.
No, she was unconscious anyways because of the water.
Oh
Right
yeah, that's
before-
right.
You actually save Ellie from the water, and then the Fireflies get to you and knock you out.
Yeah.
But she's knocked out automatically, so she has no choice in the matter of anything. She has no idea what's happening.
I think she would have chose to have it happen anyway, because she
Yeah.
wanted her life to mean something.
She would have, because that's what she says in the second game.
Which is, it's selfish of Joel, but it's selfish of us too, because we side with Joel, even though the person that we're kind of like taking her life into our hands because she wanted her life to mean something. Yet we are rooting for Joel.
But that's what the whole point of the second game is.
Yeah.
is to show you, okay, maybe you should be rooting for these people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what the controversy comes from. It's because we want to root for them, even though we know it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's these games are so good. I mean, yeah, I'm excited for the second podcast or the one on the second one.
Mm-hmm. We're all gonna have pretty different opinions.
Probably, yeah.
We're probably gonna disagree with most of the negative reviews, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think the game deserves all the negative feedback.
Yeah. Most people will say that the game's terrible.
Yeah, that's just
But they
cancel
haven't even
culture.
played it.
Yeah.
It's cancel culture, and people review bombing it because
Mm-hmm.
they think they're not gonna like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand, but you shouldn't review bomb a game that you haven't played yet.
Yes, exactly.
I think
Or just say you're gonna hate it even before you start it.
Exactly. I think the second game is really good. I actually really liked it. I mean, we'll talk about it in the next podcast, but I just think that there are some things that I could go without.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but back to the first game, yeah, the ending was really perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything. I mean, like when she asked him, and there was that pause, and you see his face, and then he said, "What did he say?" Like,
He said, "I swear."
oh yeah,
Yeah, she said, "Tell me everything you told me was true. That there are others like me. There's no cure."
And he straight up lied to her face.
But there was that moment of silence, and then he breathed hard, and then he's like, "I swear."
I don't think she believed him.
Probably
No,
not.
you could tell by her face.
Well, no, she obviously didn't
Yeah,
from the second game, but still, it's so good by itself.
yeah,
It would have just been a legend.
Yeah, you
a
can take it
legendary
both
game.
ways.
Didn't need the second game at all.
I don't think so. But now that we have it,
I'm
mean,
happy with the second game.
Yeah.
Wasn't necessary.
If any of you have, like we said before, if any of you have a PS3 or even a PS4 and some extra money, if you're listening without playing the game with all the spoilers that we just said,
Yeah.
you should play the game.
It's still worth playing many years later.
Yeah, the game is amazing, and like you said, it is legendary. I'd say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If any of you have played the game and you have any thoughts, even the second one, you go and join our Discord from our site, and you could talk with us.
Yeah, we love to talk or debate about this game.
Yeah.
Yes, and we also we play games with people in the Discord server too. Our site is CuboldGaming.com, so the Discord server is up on there. So
Mm-hmm. It's also Cubold Gaming Discord too. I think you can
Yeah.
search it up.
probably, yeah. I don't know how that works, but
I think it's a public server.
yeah. So, all right, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next podcast.